Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, I want to thank everyone for joining Career Innovations today. Job Seekers Q&A weekly session. This session will be recorded and uploaded to our growing YouTube channel. If you ever miss a session, you can just go on to YouTube, type in Career Innovations, all one word. You're able to see the most recent upload that we have. We usually take about anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes it can go as long as a week before we can get the latest one up there, depending on how our caseload looks, but we usually try to get those out before the next session. You can ask questions one of two ways, depending on how you logged into the workshop. You can raise your hand. I can unmute your mic if you actually typed in your audio PIN number, or you can utilize the actual chat box at the bottom and type your question if you do not verbally want to speak it, and that's fine as well. This week I didn't get a lot of questions. I did get about 2 questions, and one of the questions I'm actually going to cover in the workshop regarding a resume and what's expected in a resume, or what recruiters or hiring managers want to see. So I'm going to cover that. Another one was pretty much a subjective question, was about how do I know if a job is right for me, and we'll go through that. That's actually going to be on one of the last slides that we'll talk about how you assess jobs to make sure this is something that you want to do. So those were the only 2 questions. Last week we did get many questions, so I don't know if people pretty much got their answers that they needed and really didn't need to submit any this week. Though we do have a full line, I am open to answering any questions following the workshop. So if you have a question now that you weren't able to submit, go ahead and type it, so that way your question be one of the questions that I answer first before we actually close. Where's your parachute? That's the theme for tonight. If you don't know about Career Innovations, I usually do about a 15-30 second introduction of myself. I'm Bridget Baggett. I'm actually the founder of Career Innovations. I'm also the director of recruiting. Career Innovations is an executive search firm. We were launched in 2007. And we pride ourselves on finding a lot of our candidates through referrals, as well as innovative technology and tools. One thing that we do, we find innovative and unconventional ways to work with clients to locate different talent. Some of the things that we offer to job seekers is something that you're utilizing now, our Q&A session, as well as HR training, resume writing, career coaching, market research, compensation benchmarking, referral and retention workshops. And today's quote, always remember your focus determines your reality. So the things that you focus on may actually become your reality, or will become your reality if that's what you believe. So you definitely want to make sure that when you are looking for a job, you're putting positive energy out there, because that's what you want back in return. One of the reasons why we do our Q&A sessions, because we do work with many candidates. We have a lot of job seekers that send us our resumes, and it's impossible to place every single person that sends us their resume. So we wanted to come up with a way or a resource that we can offer job seekers that's absolutely no cost, and we do this every single week. And is to give you some type of tool so you'll be able to find positions on your own. You won't heavily rely on a staffing or executive firm if you have the tools that you need to actually get in front of the job seekers, get in front of the employers yourself. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to do, the agenda. There's no security in life, only opportunity. And that's one of the quotes I really do like, because nothing is secure, especially in this day and age. You know, jobs come and go, the economy goes up and down. You know, all you have out there is the opportunity, and it's up to you whether or not you're going to take advantage of that or not. So the first thing we're going to cover was the first question that was asked about the resume. I first want to point out the resume is your first line of defense. This is the first thing that the first thing employers, recruiters, clients, this is the first thing they see. So this is your marketing tool that you're branding yourself, that you're going to put out there. The questions your resume should answer. So if you're right now jump starting your career search, you may be a person that's gainfully employed or recently laid off, that this is new to you. you haven't had to look for a job in years, in some cases decades, because I've worked with clients that, they've been working for 20, 25 years and then were recently laid off. So this is something new to them. They're not used to applying through line. When they used to apply, it was a paper application. Now the whole dynamic had changed as far as a job search. So you want to make sure that when you are putting together your resume, you're answering certain questions that the recruiter or the hiring manager may have. Also, the next thing you want to have in mind is the interview. Again, this is just an opportunity. We're going to talk about that as well. Sell a solution, not just yourself. And you hear a lot of people pretty much pushing, sell yourself, sell yourself. To be honest with you, employers would get the right person to do the job for them, and it might not be you. So what can you bring to the table other than you? So you want to be able to sell a solution, something that's going to solve their problem. And the next question that you need to ask is, why should they hire you? And that actually goes to the main question that your resume should answer, is why should they hire you? And the last thing is, know your competition. You want to know who you're competing against, who else is applying to these jobs, what are their credentials, what are their experience, what do we look like if we were side by side and a choice had to be made. So you want to know who you're competing with, who else are applying to these same jobs. And finally, the key questions to ask. These are the questions that you not only want to ask in interviews, but these are questions that you also want to be able to ask when you're out there networking at any type of networking event as well. So your first line of defense, trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. So you want to make sure that when you are putting together your resume, you're putting together that something that represents yourself. Keep in mind, this is the first impression that an employer sees. This is a marketing tool, and it should be treated as such. You want to be able to showcase resolved challenges. And what I mean by that, and I'm going to keep that up there for just a second before I move to the fourth point, because many people hear this, but they don't understand when I say showcase resolved challenges, which means don't just showcase what you did. I can pull a job description and see what you did as an XYZ manager. I want to know what you did that wasn't in your job description. That's what I mean by showcase your resolved challenges, your aha moments, your accomplishments, things that I can't pull from a job description. It's great that you managed a team of 20 people. So did every other manager that was hired to manage 20 people. So you want to think outside the box. Put something on there that's going to catch their eye, especially if the job is requiring managerial experience. That's going to be something that's going to be a given. So you want to make sure that you're addressing challenges that you overcame while you were in there and the value that you brought to the organization. If you're in a position that is highly built on quantitative data, this goes for marketing positions, sales positions. These are positions or occupations that are number driven. You want to have that quantitative data on there. You want to show somewhere in there, besides being an outstanding or over the top sales professional, I want to show proof. Put your money where your mouth is. How did you save the company money? How did you produce money? So this is things that they want to see as well. And you want to answer the question, why should I hire you? And as simple as this question may sound, you can't believe how so many people can't answer it. Other than what the job description is asking for or what they've done, they really don't have a good answer on why they should hire them compared to anyone else that's applying to that position. So that's something that takes some thought. Questions your resume should answer. This is also the format. I have a CAR. I use CAR. That's how I remember it. Asking the right questions takes as much skill as giving the right answers. And I love that quote, because when you put together your resume, it's not so much of putting together what you've done, putting a laundry list of duties. You want to put down the conflict or problem that you had in your particular position. And people may say, well, there wasn't a conflict or problem. I never encountered any problems. First first of all, you also have to look at your position as that was the problem. The reason why positions are open, they have a particular task or problem that needs to be solved. That's the only reason why they have an opening. If they didn't have a problem or issue that needed to be handled, there would not be an opening. So that's the way I look at jobs. So for you even having that position, you were solving a particular problem for that company. Doesn't matter if you were the vice president or you were an executive assistant. Doesn't matter where you were on the hierarchy of this company. You were there for a purpose. What was it? What was the problem that you were solving? What action did you take to do this? Action includes anything that you use to solve this problem. This can include tools. Did you use a particular software? Maybe you were an executive assistant, using that for an example. There are different tools that you use to solve their problem. Your problem may be getting, data entry, putting data in. What tools did you use it? Did you use any type of process that made this solution a faster fix? And what I mean by that, was it something that you did that improved the entire process? You want to actually talk about the action that you took. And finally, you want to talk about the resolution, any results that happen from you carrying out that particular action. This is the format I really look for. And this is a lot of times, this is kind of like the format that they're going to ask in an interview. Not all companies. I never say, every company. I never say never. So a lot of companies may not go through this format, but many companies nowadays, and I'm seeing moving forward as the economy is starting to recover, they want to make sure they're going to hire people that can bring value to their organization. And not just value towards their bottom line, but people that are actually going to be there, stick around. In some cases, they want to make sure that they can bring their company to the next level. So they're looking for innovators. They're looking for people that have fresh ideas that can bring things to the table. So you want to talk about the things that you did with your previous employer in this CAR format. You want to talk about if you saved a company money. Did you improve a process? What does your track record say? What can you tell this organization that you can actually duplicate at this new company that you may be applying for? So companies nowadays are looking for value. They're not looking to throw money at a warm body, and that's happened for several decades. They just needed somebody there to do a particular job. But as money's getting tight, employers are starting to see the value of hiring for quality. So that's something that you want to look at. The interview, just an opportunity. Our lives are defined by opportunities, even the missed ones, or even the ones we miss. An interview is nothing more than an opportunity. Nothing more, nothing less. This is a platform for you to prove yourself. An interview does not always have to be formal. This can be exchanging information. An interview could take many forms. When people think of an interview, they're thinking of, I'm getting called in, I'm setting the time and date, I'm going in and speaking with an employer, and that to them is a formal interview. Believe it or not, interviews are taken every day. Whether you know it or not, it may not be called an interview, so it may not say that they're interviewing you, but that's what interviews are. They can take form at networking events. I'm pretty sure if you interviewed someone, or another word can be you assess someone. This can go for referrals. You make a quick assessment on whether or not you're going to refer somebody depending on your past experience and depending on their potential for the future. So if you've done an interview with someone, spontaneous in the middle of a networking event. So you want to make sure that when you have an interview, and this goes from when you're out there going to these job fairs, you're out there networking with associations and organizations, you're doing volunteer work at nonprofit, people are informally interviewing you because they want to know, hey, if I get to know this person, I know a little bit about them, I can make a decision whether or not I want to pass this person on to someone that may be able to help them out, that may be able to give them an opportunity for a formal interview. So this is something that you want to do as well. So after you exchange information and you do pass your resume along, you want to make sure that you can live up to your resume. So when you have a resume, and again, I've seen resumes where, titles have been embellished, duties have been, very much fluffed up. So you want to make sure that whatever you're putting on your resume, an employer goes through this with a fine-tooth comb, you can actually live up to it. Another thing you also want to use the time when you are having the interview is to take a look at their corporate culture. This goes for their corporate environment. This plays a big role on whether or not you want to take a position or not. Many people don't consider this. Most people consider the compensation, the benefits, and if it's something they want to do. And that's all great, but you also want to consider, is this the place that you want to work? And we're going to talk about that when you actually make that assessment of what you want to do and make sure that your goals are going to align with the overall company culture. And the reason why I say that, you find so many people just take opportunities based on compensation, and they find themselves doing this again. And when I mean doing this again, they find themselves looking for another job within the next 2 to 3 years. And you don't want to find yourself, maybe you are looking to move around, and that's fine. But if you're looking for something or a company that you can grow with, and you want to find somewhere that you can actually stay for a long time, you want to make sure you are looking at the company's core values and what they stand for, because this will play a role on your longevity. Next thing, you want to also be able to sell a solution in a particular interview. And we're going to go more into selling solution on the next slide. It's called selling a solution, not just yourself. And I was on the show Recruiting Animal, and I really liked his quote that he said, selling is putting your best foot forward while hiding the other one. That's pretty much what selling is. You're putting your best foot forward while you're hiding the other one. So you want to make sure when you're selling a solution, you're selling something that they can actually relate to and something that's going to bring them value, not just selling yourself. And the first thing with selling a solution, you want to be the solution. You want to make sure that when you go into the interview, you have identified a problem that they're looking to resolve. Hopefully you can identify one in the role that you're actually interviewing in. And maybe, and I'm throwing just out titles, if you're interviewing for a marketing manager, go out there to see if any services or any products have been recently launched. That's going to be a problem that you're going to have to face if you do take on to this position. How do you plan to get their product or service to the market? What are their competitors doing? So these are problems that are already in place that you're going to have to face if you got the position. So you want to make sure that you are going to become the solution by looking at problems they may already have. You want to emphasize past solutions that you had with past employers. This goes down to being able to prove what you've done, not only verbally, but if you have some tangible data to do so. And it goes back to what have you done for past employers, that you can show or talk about in an interview that aligns with what the position is that you're interviewing for. Next thing is, I always talk about a 3, 6, 9 month plan. I know that some people call it, or it has been called, a 30, 60, 90-day plan. I don't care for the 30, 60, 90-day plan. I think 30, 60, 90 days is really unrealistic. It's really not too much you're going to do in the first 30 days that's going to be mind-blowing. It's not really too much you can do, other than get yourself acclimated with the environment, get your things into HR, finish up your paperwork. So it's really not going to be anything that you're going to be really moving forward to in the first, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, to be honest. So I think setting goals that early sets yourself up for failure. I think 3, 6, and 9 months is something that you should target, because within the first 3 months, which is the first 90 days. And that's why I did that. It's because most times if you're on a contract or you're under probation with a company, initial probation for the first 90 days, that's the 3 months. They figure that's a good indicator on how this person's going to perform. If you can have a plan already in place for the employer on what you plan to do in the first 3, 6, 9 months, you've pretty much done their job because you've already set the bar for yourself. So that's why you want to have something in place that many people aren't doing. I can guarantee you your competitors aren't walking in with a 3, 6, 9 month plan. And you know why? Because it's too much like work. Because in order to put together this plan, you have to do your research on that company. You have to figure out what they're currently doing now and what parts you would play in their actual plan if you did get the job. So it does take a little bit of work on your effort. And the next one is you want to answer the how. And again, this goes for any time you put in statements in your resume without being able to have that CAR method, which is your conflict, action, and resolution. Many people just put the resolution. I improved sales by 30% in the first quarter, or I XYZ over a 3-year period. You know, they put the resolution, and that's what that is. That's what you did. But you left out the problem, and you left out the action. The how is what makes it real. If you just tell me you grew 20% of their profits in the first, 90 days or the first quarter of employment, I'm going to question, how did you do that? To me, that's an empty statement. So you want to make sure that you're putting the how in there. The how makes the solution real. So that's something that you want to look at too when you are not only interview, but you're actually putting this on your resume. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're answering the question, why should they hire you? Are you on target? Know your competition. Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can. So a lot of people may think that, well, I'm applying for this job, so is 500 other people. Or I'm applying to this job, so, when I apply, because I know LinkedIn nowadays, if you apply, I don't know if you, I think if you have one of those job seeker accounts with LinkedIn, that actually will tell you how many people applied to that position. So if you apply, I think they have this feature now that they'll let you know how many people applied. You can move your resume to the top of the list. They have all type of features in there if you're a paying customer. But I thought that also can be discouraging, whether or not you apply or not. They still let you know how many applicants are in there. They may not show you by name. I think that's what the feature is, because I've seen that they show how many people apply, but if you have a paid account, they actually tell you who applied. That's the difference. They can tell you 13 other people applied to the job, but you actually can see the 13 profiles that submitted their resume. That's if you have one of their I think premium accounts. But you don't want to concern yourself with the amount. You want to concern yourself with the actual quality of the people that apply. I can tell you right now, when people post jobs, from experience, I can post a job, I can tell you about 80 to 90, sometimes as high as 95%, depending on the position, is purely junk. People that really don't hit the mark when it comes to the job. You have a lot of people that apply because they just look at the title. Don't look at the requirements. Don't look at what the job really needs you to do. Just says, oh, XYZ, I've done that before, and they apply. So you have a lot of people like that apply to a job. So that's why I can say that a job ad really can attract junk. So don't get discouraged if you see a job posting that has 30 or 40 people. Like I said, if you go to LinkedIn and they have 30 or 40 people that apply, keep in your mind, okay, if 30, 40 people apply, let me just say, to be on the safe side, 75 to 80% aren't going to be qualified. And then look at your chances after you take out 75 to 80% of 30 applicants. So that's what you want to do. It actually improves your odds if you really are a competitive candidate. But you want to also know what makes you competitive. How do you measure up to other people that are applying to these type of positions? I have some people, or I had a candidate that was, and the reason why I pushed marketing, because I actually had a candidate that was a marketing manager for X amount of years. I want to say 15 years, and the company that they worked for actually went through a merger, was bought out, and of course the company that bought them out had their own marketing manager. So guess what? They laid her off. So this was one of those people that, hey, I haven't looked for a job in 15 or so years. And she applied to other marketing manager positions. And she came to me asking me, I have 15 plus years of experience, and I'm just not getting interviews, or if I'm getting interviews, they're picking another candidate. What's wrong? I have the experience. And after I looked through her resume, and I looked at the positions that she was applying for, and I looked at the other candidates that were applying, a lot of it was in her skill set that she didn't have. And that brings me to my third point. Why is your skill set in demand, or lack thereof? Even though she was a marketing manager for this small company that got bought out, they did not keep up to date with what other marketing or media companies were doing. They were still running a lot of software and using a lot of techniques that were, no longer even in the industry. At this point nowadays, people were using Salesforce. People were using all types of technology and apps to move different types of marketing campaigns. And she didn't know this. Not because it was so much her fault, but the company she worked for did not have this technology. And to be honest with you, I don't think they probably couldn't. They probably couldn't afford it. Hence why the company got sold. So now she's competing with people that do have this skill set. I may not have 15 years, but you don't have to train me on this particular technology or software that this marketing industry is using. Even though you've had 15 years of experience, you really can't hit the ground running when you come up with one of these marketing companies or advertising firms that are onto this new technology that you never heard of. And these other younger applicants are not so much younger, but more experienced or been exposed to this software, pick this up and able to interview, tell you about this software, and actually can, they know it so much they can, train you on this software. An employer is going to hire them. So you want to make sure the skill set that you need isn't in demand. What is the skill set that past employers have picked or hired for? And how would you know that? You can go to the company and look at their employees on LinkedIn. You can click on a company site and look at the employees that work there. So if you're applying for a particular job, you can look up that title within that company and look at what type of employee they hire, what type of skill sets are they looking for, and you can go off the employees that are currently working there. So you definitely want to make sure that the skill set that you're advertising on your resume, first of all, is current. Is it something that's in demand? Is it something that's relevant to the industry? And it's something that the employer really values. And the thing is, you want to also look at what are your strengths and weaknesses compared to your competition. And as cliche this may sound, that everybody says, well, that's a typical interview question that they may ask. It is not so much having the answer for an interview, it's having the answer for yourself. You want to know what's holding you back. That means you're going to have to take a realistic view of yourself and be your worst critic. You're going to have to know that, hey, this is not my this is not my strength. This is something I need to work on. This is something I'm lacking. It may be education. It may be training. It may be exposure to a particular craft. I know a lot of people are looking to make a career change. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. Making a career change, depending on industry that you're trying to break into, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not as simple as changing a couple of keywords on your resume and starting to apply to these new positions that you want to get into. You know, once again, I never say never. I'm pretty sure people can say, well, that's how I got my job, but majority can't. You know, so you want to make sure that you really are taking a clear look at what you can bring to the table and being honest with yourself. If you know that, hey, this is what the industry is looking for, this is kind of like the gold standard now, I may have to go back to school and get that gold standard. I may have to do on-job training. I may have to get a mentor. You know, so you're going to have to really make sure that you're looking at that and looking at what your competition is doing as well. Key questions to ask. Judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. So you want to make sure that you're going to be answering or asking some questions. And this goes for an interview. And that's why I like this particular slide and this quote as well, because sometimes it's not the answers that give the insight, it's the questions. So you want to make sure that you're going to really ask some questions in the interview or any type of networking event that you're going to be showing interest. You're going to show that you're prepared in some way, shape, or form. You're going to be eager and willing to learn. You know, that shows that you're going to be bringing something to the table. You're not sitting there only looking to receive. You also want to be knowledgeable of your craft. You know, and this doesn't only take the form, again, and I repeat this, of interviews. This takes the form of even networking. The key nowadays that I think that's really going to bring you to the top when it comes to job is your network. I'm seeing more and more people landing jobs by who they know. You know, it's hard. It's hard going through a database of 500, 600 resumes. You know, and I'm pretty much seeing that HR agrees with me. And if someone can say, hey, I know someone that knows someone, hear their resume, give them a call. A lot of people are going that route. So I'm seeing a lot of people networking and getting jobs that way. But the thing with networking, you also have to be willing to give something in return as well. It's a two-way street. And I've been to so many networking events where you hear the elevator speech, and it's almost as if, ta-da, you got a job for me? You know, so you want to make sure that you're actually having some type of conversation in which you're trying to build a relationship rather than seeing if there's not only a job, but almost what can I bring to the table, even if it's not a job. You know, so that's something that you want to do as well. These are some questions that you should be asking if you are in an interview setting. To succeed, jump quickly at opportunities as you do at conclusions. You know, how has various types of decisions been made? That question would definitely tell you how the company is ran, how decisions are being made throughout the company. Are other people below a director or manager, you know, their subordinates, are they a part of this decision-making process? That may be important to you if you're not applying to a director or VP post, or VP role. Will your word be heard? Next one is, can you explain your organizational structure? You probably want to know how the structure is laid out, who you'll be reporting to, who they report to. Kind of gives you insight on how the company is ran. What kind of work can I expect to be doing in the first year? Again, it puts you there. You're setting the stage in their mind that you already have the job. And not only that, you're actually having them walk through some of the things that you'll be doing. And believe it or not, a lot of things that you'll be doing will be left out on the job description. You know? So you want to make sure that you are asking this question and see if this is something that you're going to be doing. Because believe it or not, you know, sometimes that job description you see online can't fit everything that you'll actually be physically doing. So ask that question. What is the organization's plan for the next 5 years, and how does this department fit in? Or you can replace department, how does this role fit in? How do I fit in? You want to know that there's going to be some type of longevity with that position. You know, you want to know, hey, is there room for growth? Is this a position that's static? Does it just stay here? The people that actually move up in this company, do they have to leave to get a promotion, or do you actually hire within or promote within? So you want to know where you plan to be in the next 5 years with the company, or how that role fits in. What are various ways employees communicate with one another to carry out their work? This is a big one if you're working for a position that you telecommute, you work from home, you have a flex schedule, or if you want to put that in your negotiations. If it's something that you can do, believe it or not, compensation is not the only thing on the table when you negotiate. You definitely can ask for a flex schedule. And if you do, see if there's a way that you communicate. Are they using a chat? Are they using some type of, their only way of communication is through email? Do they actually pick up the phone? You want to figure out how they communicate. This will also let you know how communication is being used to solve solutions within the company. An email may sound different if someone else reads it, the tone. So you want to make sure they're always using, they're leveraging the communication that they're using. In the last slide I have, and then I'm actually going to open up the lines for questions, is what is your timeline? This is something that I ask everyone that I have a one-on-one with. I ask them, what is your timeline to get a position? And this goes for someone that's just now starting their career search, and this can be someone that's been out of work, and I can see someone asking this that's been out of work for a long time. They'll say ASAP, I'm looking for a job yesterday. If you do not have a timeline, then you don't have a plan. And just because you have a plan doesn't mean you have a timeline. There are a lot of people that have been out of work a long time that really never had a plan in place. They've been kind of just winging it, and I'm applying to things as I see it, really don't have a direction on where they're going. You want to make sure that you're making an assessment. This goes for the person that asks, how do I know which job is best for me? I don't know if you're a recent grad, because as a recent grad, what you think you want to do may not be what you actually end up doing. And I can attest to that, because my initial passion when I went off to school was to be a veterinarian. Guess what? I'm not no vet. So things change. I went off to school, got the exposure, actually did internships, worked with a vet, and I saw that that was something I didn't want to do. Even though I followed through with the undergrad program, I never pursued veterinarian school. So you definitely want to make sure that it's something that you want to do. And I really push, if you're a recent grad, look for internships, and say that you're someone that's, a seasoned employee that's looking to make a career change. You have to sit back and see or understand what is something that you can do and what's something that you don't mind doing that makes you happy. And the reason why I say that, and how cheesy it may sound, that's really the key. Because this is something that you're going to be doing for a while. And if not, you're going to find yourself with the extra stress or the extra pressure to find something else. And who wants that? So you definitely want to make sure that you're finding something that you want to do. Usually it's something that you're good at, something that gives you that, that aha moment that you really enjoy doing. And that's something that you want to work towards or develop a craft to. So that's what I think that you should do. And again, this takes time for an assessment. This is something, again, does not happen overnight. It may take a couple weeks for you to figure out what you're doing. When I mean a couple weeks, I mean it may take that time to put together a plan. But an assessment can be something that a lifelong professional working in development that you're doing. So as you're working, you're kind of weeding out on things that you like to do and things that not so much. Next thing is you want to make sure you're researching your target markets. These are companies that you really want to work for. These are companies that you admire, or maybe companies that you haven't heard of that you'll like to really get a better understanding. This can include startups or small organizations that may not be, posted all over LinkedIn or Career Builder or Monster or any of the job boards. It may be a nonprofit. You want to make sure that you're researching your target markets. And after that, you're creating a marketing plan around that, which means how do you plan to get in front of these employers? You know, what resources are you going to use? What technologies are you going to use? How are you going to get your resume in front of decision makers? You know, you want to look at this, and that's why you put together a marketing plan. So it's not so much that I'm just going to apply to the job. Hey, I'm going to apply to the job. I'm going to figure out who the hiring manager is. I'm going to follow up with the hiring manager. I'm going to ask for a informational interview. You know, so there's a lot of things that can go into just applying online. And the things I just shot out there, this is things that require research. So that's why when you do your research of your target market, you want to make sure that you're including the ways you're going to be reaching out to these companies. And it may include picking up the phone. You know, a lot of people don't want to do it, but, you know, back to the basics. Pick up that phone and start reaching out to people that can, you know, help you to get you closer to your overall professional goal. So it goes back to making connections. Next thing, you want to actually follow up and examine failure. You know, failure doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you learned. You learned that it doesn't work. You know, so whatever you're doing, you need to find a way, how can I change this? Or how can I eliminate it? Or let me figure out what is working and start to put more time into that. You know, so you want to make sure that you're doing that. This is the step that a lot of people leave out. They don't follow up, and they don't actually reassess where they are. They continue to do the same thing, hoping for different results. And we all know what that's the definition of. So you want to make sure that you are doing something, you have something in motion, but you're also taking time out to stop. Let me look at what I'm doing. Let me start tracking what I'm doing. And you should be doing this anyway, tracking what companies you've applied to, who you've reached out to, what's the last time you heard from them. You either get a spreadsheet, and on my last workshop I talk about Jibber Jobber, that's kind of like a CRM or a management system for job seekers. So it's kind of like a database what keeps track of all this information, and that way you can figure out what you can actually change. And another good quote I remember is, you can't change what you don't measure. So if you're not measuring anything, if you're not keeping track of how many companies you applied to, how many decision makers you reached out to, you know, and you're not keeping track of that, you know, you really don't know what to change, and you don't know what's working, and you don't know what's wasting your time. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. And the next thing, finally, you want to make sure that you're accepted, you're getting those offers in. You make sure if you're doing these steps and you're putting them in place and you're putting it in motion, and you have a timeline for this to be executed, the only thing that can happen is that you'll get an offer. You know, so you want to make sure that you're putting these steps in place. And I remember a story about one of my, well, I have two friends. And they both were kind of on the athletic kick about running these 5K races that were out there. You know, it's for charity. You know, I don't know what particular charity it was. It may have been breast cancer. It may have been one of the charities. But it reminds me of these two friends that were athletically motivated, but they were on two opposite ends of the pole. You know, and no, I didn't say they were athletic. They weren't athletic able to do these. You know, they didn't have the athletic ability, because everyone is able, you know, as long as you're, you know, you can physically walk and all this. But I had one that actually trained for the 5K, which means they got up, and it's actually an app that says Couch to 5K. Now, you can look this up, but it's an actual app that kind of gets your body ready to run a 5K. They downloaded the app, and I think they had to run so many, you know, kilometers a day, and you know, and the next day they ran a little bit further, and then the next week they ran a little further, and before you know it, they were running the 5K nonstop. That's what this app was supposed to do. Then I had one that, you know, they signed up, donated the money, and I'll show up and run, and got the t-shirt and got there the day of the race. And needless to say, the person that trained finished. They didn't finish first, but they finished at a good amount of time, and then the other person walked. I'm thinking of it in my head. They walked the rest of the way. And it kind of reminded me, like, see what happens when you don't prepare, you don't train, and you just thought that, hey, I could do it. I don't need to train. I know how to run. And that's what you have when a lot of people they're looking for a job. No, I know how to I know how to put together a resume. I know how to apply to a job. I don't need help. And they get out there and they realize after 3 to 4 months, they're not getting any job interviews. They're not getting any callbacks. And they don't understand the rules have changed. It's not as simple as it was 10, 15 years ago. The rules have changed. You have a lot of competition now. So you have to remember this when you go in there. It's not as easy as just, I'll just submit my resume and hopefully, I'll get a call in a week and I'm interviewing and I got the job. No, yeah, that happened, 10, 20 years ago. It's not happening like that now, and especially after we're recovering from a quote-unquote recession. So you definitely want to make sure that you are being prepared and you're getting yourself prepared for this, and you're just not getting up, you're not like my other friend just getting up, throwing on the t-shirt and starting at the starting line, because I can guarantee you everyone else in the race has practiced, or most of them have. So that was a story that I wanted to share with you. This is my contact information. You can reach me. The best way to reach me is by email, first initial, last name at careerinnovate.com. Phone, you can leave a message. Usually if I'm out about or at a meeting, I don't answer, it goes to voicemail. The best thing to do if you do want to get me on the phone is go to the website, www.career-innovate.com. You can actually schedule a phone appointment. So that'd be the best way to get yourself on my calendar, is to actually schedule a phone appointment, so I can know that we have time carved out in my schedule to sit down and have a talk. It is not going to be an on-the-fly conversation. So that's probably the best way. But if not, just a simple question or just need something answered, just shoot me an email. After this workshop, there is a survey when you log out. Please answer the survey. It's from anywhere from 8 to 10 questions. It lets me know what I can do, how we can better our best, topics that we can cover in the future, anything that you'll like to see changed, anything that you'll like implemented in upcoming workshops. So definitely take the survey so we'll know anything that we can change. Let me see if I have any questions that are out there so far. Okay, I do see thank yous. You're welcome. I'm glad I was able to answer your question. I see I did answer your question regarding the resume. Yes. It is not cut and dry, and I know that when someone asks about how to put together a resume, it can be very subjective, because everybody has their way on what you're supposed to do. Take out this, put in this, move, and the thing is, they're all right. I hate to say it like that, and I know it can sound confusing, but there's no exact way to do it. And people can give you so many reasons on how it should be formatted, and they all can be right. But all I ask for people to do is just to put that CAR in there. I could care less, where you have this and where you have that, as long as it's on there. You definitely want to have your most admirable accomplishments up front on the front first page, and not the upper top resume, like have a section for your accomplishments. I think that's the only thing that I will recommend. But as far as, take out objective, or take out this, or take out that, or replace this, I'm not so, it's not that if I see a resume with objective, it's like an automatic, oh no, I'm not even going to read rest of this, so it doesn't go down like that. But it's just things that I do look for, and one thing I do look for is value. If I'm reading a resume, I do look, how did this person bring the company value, because this is going to be something that I can market to my client, and that's what's going to impress them, to say, hey, get them on the phone. Let's set up a meeting. So that's the only thing that I really suggest people have. So I'm glad I was able to answer your question. Okay, we're down to about the last 5 or 6 minutes. Do I have any more questions at all tonight? Okay, I don't see any hands up. So let me see if there's questions at the bottom. Okay. So is there any Any suggestions on where you should network to find results? Best places for job seekers to network. There, to me, best places for job seekers, I think it's best places for anyone. And this goes for your industry-related associations and professional organizations. I think that, to me, is like the best place to find people with like minds, first of all, that are in your industry and that are actually decision makers. You know, a lot of decision makers are not only members but on the boards of these industry related associations, and that's where you're going to find them. So I think that that's my number one pick of networking. If you can find a industry-related conference, like for me, for human resources, we have our Society of Human Resource Management, which is known as SHRM. You know, they always have an annual conference. They always have chapter, or not only chapter meetings, but regional conferences. And this is where all HR people get together. You know, it's the largest human resource organization in the U.S. So that's like an organization for me. You may have your own organization. You know, if it's IT, it may be a different IT organization. If it's, you know, marketing, it'd be a marketing organization. But I really think that industry-related organizations are the best place to find not only like-minded people, but people that are in your industry. Join them. Go to their meetings, you know, especially if you're if you're trying to submerge yourself in a particular industry or make a career change. Put a name with a face. Don't hide behind LinkedIn connecting with people. Figure out what associations they're a part of and actually go out there and meet them. You know, people do business, not only do business, but people refer people that they like, they trust, you know, and they really believe in, you know. And if they never seen you, you know, all they seen was your picture online, they really can't, you know, put their name behind a recommendation if they were to refer you to a job. So you want to make sure that you're getting out there and actually networking and meeting people. My second runner-up would be any type of conferences that maybe career job seeker conferences, or any company that hosts a particular hosts or sponsors workshops, and get what I'm saying. I'm not, because many people when they network, they go out to the, you know, they'll go out to the you know, the after 5 things or the meet and greets, and you know, that's all fine. But I always say, if you're going to network, and I call it party with a purpose. If you're going to network with a purpose in mind. You know, and if you go to these places that sound fun and entertaining, that's what they're meant to be. You know, you want to make sure that you're going to events that are not wasting your time. You have people that go to a lot of events and they wonder why I go and I don't meet anyone. Well, you're going to the wrong events. You know what I mean? So if you're going to the happy hour, cocktail hour type of events, you're right. You're more likely not going to run into a VP there. You know, that's looking to hire someone. You know, and if they are attending, they really don't disclose it. They're there to, you know, let down their hair for the night. They're really not there for business. You know, so you definitely want to make sure that you're networking and putting yourself in an environment where you can meet people that can bring you closer to your goal. So I'm going to get off my soapbox with that. But I hope I was able to give everyone a presentation that they really liked. If there's any questions following the workshop, for some reason you weren't able to get in, definitely shoot me a line through my email. We do this every Monday from 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Again, don't forget to take the survey. Have a great night, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.